Citizens of the digital age, you who listen to me now through glowing screens and ergonomic chairs, consider this question. Can a man be truly virtuous if his soul has never known hunger? I already see your shoulders rise, your fingers hovering over next episode. You think, but Socrates, times have changed. We have earned the right to rest. And I answer you, the right to rest is not the right to eternal hibernation of the spirit. Modern comfort is no longer simply shelter from rain or warmth from fire. It has become a slow drug, a sweet wine we drink every day until we live in permanent gentle drunkenness and the death of the soul without ever noticing. Look around. Today's man has more food in 1 week than a Spartan saw in a year. He has more entertainment in 1 hour than a tragic poet received in an entire lifetime. And yet, he complains. He is bored. He feels empty. Why? Because comfort has replaced effort without replacing meaning. It has removed pain without making joy deeper. It has eliminated struggle without giving birth to greatness that I tell you, as I once told Alcibiades when he strutted in his beauty and wealth. You believe you are happy because nothing is missing, but what is missing is precisely the thing you lack without knowing it. Tension towards something greater than yourself. Comfort is a thief that never forces doors. It slips through the window you left ajar yourself, whispering, "Tomorrow I'll start." It sits on your couch, drink from your favorite mug, watches your shows in your place, and while doing so, quietly carries away, piece by piece, the future you could have built. And the most terrible part? You thank it. You even give it kind names: self-care, balance, recovery. But tell me, friend of comfort, when was the last time your heart pounded hard because you were afraid of failing and you did it anyway? True rest, the kind that regenerates, comes after effort. False rest, the kind that numbs, comes instead of effort. While you sleep awake in your climate-controlled cocoon, your future self watches you from the other side of the river. He is thinner. His eyes are tired. He wears the clothes you never dare to put on. The garments of the man who tried, failed, began again, bled, cried, and grew. So, I ask you the ultimate Socratic question. Is it better to live 40 years in the soft comfort of a half-self, or 20 years in the magnificent burning of one who actually becomes? Most people answer with their mouth, but their life answers with their feet, and the feet stay on the plush carpet. That is why I say, your comfort is not your friend. It is a flattering courtier that strokes you the right way while quietly clipping the wings you were born with. Wake up before the silence of your comfort becomes the loudest sound of your life, the sound of regret. Now, let us examine methodically and without mercy how this sweet poison actually works upon the soul. For the greatest dangers are never accompanied by thunder and lightning. The venom that topples empires, that reduces once mighty men to shadows, is never the dramatic draught swallowed in a single reckless moment. No, it is the patient poison, administered drop by drop, year after patient year, until 2 decades have passed and the man awakens to find himself already entombed in mediocrity. First mechanism, the silent erosion of the life force. Every single time you reach for Netflix instead of the difficult book that would stretch your mind, every time you choose endless scrolling over the painful act of writing a single honest sentence, every time you select another hour of sleep or another nap instead of the gym that would remind your body is still alive, you are not merely resting. You are conducting an education. You are patiently teaching your own nervous system a terrible lesson. That effort equals useless pain, that striving leads only to discomfort with no reward worth having. After dozens, then hundreds, then thousands of these apparently trivial micro-choices, the brain finally internalizes the doctrine. Effort ceases to be perceived as the doorway to mastery, growth, pride, and deep satisfaction. Instead, it becomes a blaring alarm bell, a signal of danger that must be avoided at all costs. The life force itself begins to wither, not from dramatic catastrophe, but from the steady starvation of meaningful challenge. Second mechanism, the gradual shrinking of the window of possibility. Comfort does not merely soften the body. It quietly constructs an invisible prison around the mind. At first, the bars are wide apart. You could once run 10 kilometers without thinking twice. Then, imperceptibly, 5 becomes acceptable. Soon 3 is enough for today. Eventually, even walking feels virtuous enough. You once stood before crowds and spoke with fire. Then only before close friends. Then only through carefully edited text messages. Then, finally, silence becomes preferable to any risk of judgment. With each small retreat, a new baseline is quietly established. What was once unthinkable becomes normal. What becomes normal soon becomes who you are. The window of what you believe yourself capable of narrows year by year until it is scarcely a porthole, and through it you glimpse only the safe, small world you have agreed to inhabit. Third mechanism, the grotesque inflation of the trivial. When nothing in your daily existence truly tests you, when no real dragons remain to slay, then the most insignificant discomforts swell to monstrous proportions. A message left unanswered for 30 minutes becomes an existential wound, proof that you are unloved or unimportant. A mild criticism from a colleague or friend transforms into a devastating personal attack that must be brooded over for days. A project that requires more than 3 weeks of sustained attention is dismissed as unrealistic, as though reality itself had changed rather than your tolerance for friction. You do not become fragile because life has grown harder. You become fragile because you have trained yourself to expect and demand that life remain forever softer than your own capacity to endure it. Fourth mechanism, the hidden, compounding debt of time. Every single day spent in voluntary comfort is not neutral. It is an active loan taken against your future self, and the interest rate is ruinous. The debts accumulate silently in the shadows, skills that were never acquired because learning them required sustained discomfort, relationships that were never deepened because true intimacy demands vulnerability and effort, a body that was never properly maintained, now protesting with pain and fatigue, a mind that was never sharpened, now dull and foggy, unable to cut through complexity when the bill finally arrives. Most often between the ages of 35 and 45, it is not presented in gentle monthly installments. It arrives all at once, in a single crushing wave. The midlife crisis, the burnout that leave you staring at walls, the depression that colors every memory gray, the searing regret that no philosophical consolation can soothe, the body beginning to break down, and above all, the devastating realization that you have somehow missed the entire point of having been given a life. Fifth and cruelest mechanism, the rationalization of your own grave. Here is the final, most diabolical turn of the screw. Having surrendered so much, you must now defend the surrender. You tell yourself comforting stories. I'll live a quiet life. That's enough. At least I avoided all that unnecessary stress. Everyone settles down eventually. This is just maturity. No, not everyone settles down. Many simply fade out. They become ghosts wearing the skin of the living, moving through days that repeat without meaning. Until one day, they look in the mirror and no longer recognize the fire that once burned there, because they allowed it to be smothered long. I ask you, as I once questioned the sophists who thought wisdom could be bought with fine words, with the utmost seriousness. Are you truly living? Or have you quietly permitted a comfortable, well-fed ghost to take up residence in your place? Comfort does not stab you with a dagger. It smothers you slowly, tenderly, with a silk pillow of your own choosing. And the most heartbreaking part of all, you clutch that pillow to your chest. You kiss it goodnight. You thank it for keeping you safe. Wake up, friend, before the embrace becomes permanent. The grave you are digging is lined with the softest cushions, but it is a grave nonetheless. Now, citizens of tomorrow, dwellers of screens and soft routines, hear the good news, for there is indeed good news, and it shines brighter precisely because the darkness has grown so thick. Comfort destroys, yes. It dismantles souls with the gentleness of falling snow. But it destroys only if you permit it. Only if you lie back and allow the slow drift to carry you. Greatness has not departed this world. It still waits, patient, unblinking at the far end of the uncomfortable road. It never abandoned you. It simply became invisible when viewed from the safety of your couch, through the haze of another autoplayed episode. The medicine is ancient, simple, and bitter to the tongue. Voluntarily choose useful discomfort, not the blind masochism that seeks pain for its own empty sake, not the theatrical suffering that parades itself for applause or pity. No, discomfort with a clear name, a noble purpose, a destination. Growth. What does this look like in the texture of daily life? It looks like rising at dawn when every cell in your body still screams for the warmth of blankets. It looks like speaking a difficult truth when the convenient lie would smooth every surface and spare every feeling. It looks like beginning the project, the book, the business, the skill, the relationship, when every internal voice insists you are not ready yet, knowing full well that readiness is a myth invented by fear. It looks like asking for what you truly want: love, opportunity, help, forgiveness, even when the possibility of rejection cuts like cold steel. It looks like lacing up shoes and training the body when sleep, food, or distraction promise sweeter relief. It looks like opening that dense, demanding book whose pages resist easy consumption while the infinite scroll of TikTok waits one tap away, offering dopamine without effort. It looks like loving deeply, vulnerably, wholly, risking the exquisite pain of real attachment, when the shallow, light version would keep the heart neatly armored and undisturbed. Every time you make such a choice, you pay a small coin of immediate comfort, a coin most people clutch desperately, hoarding it as though it were the last they would ever possess. But in exchange, quietly, invisibly, inexorably, you receive something far rarer, a coin of eternity, a fragment of character forged in heat, a piece of self that will not dissolve when the easy days end, a quiet, growing certainty that you are becoming more real with every deliberate step into friction. Remember this iron law, etched into the nature of things. What is easy today will be hard tomorrow. The body you neglect today will protest bitterly in 10 years. The mind you leave idle today will struggle to grasp complexity later. The courage you refuse to exercise today will abandon you when true crisis arrives. And the converse is equally true, equally merciless. What is hard today will be your character tomorrow. The dawn you force yourself to greet becomes the discipline you no longer need to summon. The truth you speak when it hurts becomes the integrity that needs no rehearsal. The rejection you survive becomes the resilience that fears no refusal. The sweat you spill today becomes the quiet strength others lean on tomorrow. The heroes of old were not the ones who cleverly avoided war. They were not the strategists who hid in distant hills until the danger passed. They were the men and women who, knowing war would inevitably come, as it always does, chose to train long before the horns sounded at their gates. They ran with weighted shields. They sparred until their hands bled. They studied maps and tactics in the cold hours when others slept. They did this not because they loved discomfort, but because they loved what discomfort could produce, a self capable of standing when the storm arrived. You, too, are at war, not with swords or armies, but with forces far more relentless. The slow tide of entropy that seeks to level everything in a sameness, the seductive whisper of forgetting yourself, of letting your potential quietly expire, the thief called time, which passes whether you act or not, and carries away every unlived possibility, and the only weapon that has ever prevailed against these enemies has remained unchanged for 25 centuries. Consented discipline, the deliberate, repeated choice to do what is difficult precisely because it is difficult and because it matters that stand up. Not tomorrow when the mood might be better. Not Monday when the calendar feels fresh. Now, in this very hour, in this very breath, one thing today, however small, however unglamorous, that your future self will thank you for with tears of gratitude. Even if your present self curses you, whines, and tries to negotiate its way back to softness. Because in 20 years, When a mirror shows a face you barely recognize and the ledger of your days lies open before you, you will not regret the nights you crawled into bed exhausted after giving everything you had. You will not regret the mornings you rose early, the projects you finished through pain, the conversations you dared to have, the risks you took when safety begged you to stay small. What you will regret, what will burn like slow fire in the bones, are the thousands of tiny daily deaths. The moments you chose to remain seated while your soul screamed. Get up, become, live before it is too late. I leave you with this final question, the most important one a man can ever be asked. Do you want a comfortable life or a life worth having lived? There is no third path. Comfort will choose for you if you refuse to choose against it. And remember my parting words. I did not come to bring you peace. I came to bring you the sword of uncomfortable truth, sharp, heavy, and double-edged. Now the blade lies before you. Will you take it in hand and wield it, or will you let it rust quietly in its sheath of cushions? While the years slip away like sand through open fingers, the choice is yours alone, and it is being made right now, whether you admit it or not.